Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host Krabby Terror 8 and here we are in the Investigator Games Arkham Horror the Card Game Edition, and in this episode we are taking Rex Murphy through the Midnight Masks. Yes indeed, it is time for a Dunwich Legacy investigator to step up to the plate and see how they go. Now, a couple of things for those of you who are new to the channel. If you don't know what the investigator games are, it's a bit like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator true solo, in this case Rex Murphy, and we put them through a scenario. And at the moment we're putting the investigators through the Midnight Masks, and we see how they go. And depending on how they go, we put them into a league table, a little bit like this one. So as you can see, this is the aggregate of their scores from the Gathering and now the Midnight Masks. So if you haven't seen all of the investigators that are available with their own starter decks, I would strongly recommend you go back and watch those first. Or if you're new to the game, indeed, I would recommend that you watch those first or look at some other introductory material first. The other big change, of course, is that this isn't Octagon. I've decided to give Tabletop Simulator a go. Reason is it's just so much easier to set up. There's things about Octagon that I really like. I like the fact that you can see everything in the one place, whereas here we have to kind of move between different things. But having said that, there are some real advantages to using Tabletop Simulator, as long as I can keep track of where things are. So we'll see how we go. I've been using it for the League of Extraordinary Investigators, which I'm part of, and I really have enjoyed using it. So hopefully, if things go well, I think we might use this into the future. It's certainly easier. All the cards are available, whereas in Octagon, not so much. And I wanted some new cards for Rex, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. So, yes, I had a chat to Rex in the trailer. 4 o'clock this morning. He's now, as you can see, he's now standing in Arkham on this chilly morning at the house, just waiting to start. The crowds are, around Arkham. We have to get this finished before 7 a.m. when the traffic really starts to get a bit heavy. There's particularly a lot of congestion between Rivertown into Miskatonic University and St Mary's Hospital and Southside. That's where things can get really congested and snarled up. Last week, a truck broke down between Rivertown and Southside, which caused all kinds of problems. So we really do have to be mindful of that, because we don't want to get the council offside. They're being very generous, letting us use the town for the investigator games. So thank you Arkham City Council, and thank you to the Miskatonic trailer hire as well for their use of the trailer. So yes, I had a chat to Rex. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, but we still had a scotch or two. Rex never plays any Arkham Horror the card games without a couple of scotches under his belt. So we did that. We had a bit of a chat. I asked him about this thing about Joe Diamond and Roland actually being the same person. So he said he would go and have a look at that and see what he can dig up, in terms of personal records and things. Not that I'm thinking he should pry into people's private lives, but it's just an interesting thing. This that are they the same person? Are they a different person? Who knows? The other thing is Rex was pretty embarrassed with his performance in the Gathering. I think he's pretty angry with Fantasy Flight Games. I think he thinks it's a bit of a scandal that they gave him such a crappy starter deck. And indeed, his starter deck was a little bit, shall we say, a little bit strange in its choices. So hopefully he's very keen to do much better in the Midnight Masks. And I hope he does too, as long as he doesn't drink too much. The problem is if he has too many scotches, and I know he uses that to manage his anxiety, but if he has too many, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy because it tends to undermine his performance, and he starts to forget things and things like that. So we'll see how he goes. So let's sort of just go around the houses here. So I've set this all up. We're in turn 1 here. This is the turn counter. We're in the investigation phase. We've got 3 actions, obviously, for Rex. Here's his deck, which I'll show in a second, but I'll just shuffle it up so it's all nice and shuffled. He did take 1 mental trauma at the hands of the Ghoul Priest, so he starts with that. He has 5 resources. And just to remind everybody about good old Rex, his stat line is it's not too bad. He doesn't have anything terrifically low, but let's say he's not the world's greatest fighter. So I don't think he's going to be taking on the Masked Hunter, and I don't think he's going to be taking on Wolfman Drew. So let's hope that the other cultists turn up, because Rex is really not set up. And the problem is he's kind of weak in fight and evasion at the same time, and that is always a challenge for any investigator. If you're weak in fight but you're relatively strong in agility, it means you can kind of evade and avoid. If you're strong in fight but you're crappy in agility, like a Leo, then you can just fight your way out. Rex is kind of okay in both, but not great in either. So that is a bit of a problem. We're going to be we don't want to end up in a place where we're being, hounded by multiple monsters. So that could be a problem. I think the main thing here is to get the clues as quickly as possible, because of course, if you succeed at a skill test by 2 or more while investigating, you get an extra clue. So his ability to pick up clues and get cultists down on the table fast is the thing that Rex has to his benefit. His Elder Sign effect is interesting. I mean, he gets +2, but he can actually choose to fail the skill test and draw 3 cards. So interesting effect that he has there, which he can certainly use to his benefit at times to keep his hand up, if you like. Particularly with something like a higher education. Now, I haven't stocked him with higher education yet because there were so many gaps in his current deck that I really wanted to make sure that was boosted before I started adding additional things. But yes, so that's Rex in that way. Now let me just take you to his revised deck. So Drawing the Sign is his treachery that he got last time, and that's all fine. The main things I've added in is really, whilst I could have boosted things up, the main things that I wanted to do was to strengthen what we already had, because I don't know, it was a strange deck. It has, and I still have some of the things like the old Book of Lore, but unlike Daisy, he doesn't get any benefits from having those in. But basically what I did was I put in an extra Milan Christopher. He only had 4 XP, so I put in one of those. I put in 2 Hawkeye folding cameras, which my Joe Diamond deck has been using and is particularly helpful. It's a great card where you, if you succeed at finding clues, you get additional stacked benefits. So really quite a nice card to have. So I put in those, and then the other thing is I put in an extra working a hunch for obvious reasons. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to, and I took out a couple of things which I just didn't feel were particularly helpful. There was an extra ally in here, and a couple of other things. So the one thing that's missing from all of this is some kind of effective fight. But I think when it comes to Rex, we're going to be trying not to fight. In the Midnight Mask, you can get quite a long way without fighting. It's not a sort of a fighty scenario particularly, although you do, it can help to get some of the cultists. But I think with Rex, we're going to be trying to get some of the other cultists like Peter Warren and Devereaux, etc., etc. That's what we'll be focusing on here. And getting the clues as fast as possible. So remember, this is the investigator game, so it's about victory points. That's what puts you at the top of the table. So if Rex can get a couple of cultists and he can get victory points from a couple of locations, that's actually pretty good. So it's a little bit different in terms of the criteria for success than, say, usually when you're playing, because it's all about getting the victory points. So if we just go around the houses, here we are. It's all set up here in set out. I'm using top down. I find top down a little bit easier to conceptualize personally. There are obviously two south sides, so I'm just going to shuffle those up and take one out. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we will we'll move that out of the, we'll just put it to the side somewhere here. Yeah, so we're not using that south side. And then of course there are two downtowns, so we'll shuffle those up and we'll take a downtown out. Yeah, and then we'll probably move those, I don't know, somewhere over here. We'll just stick them there for now. Okay, so that's that set up. The Ghoul Priest is actually in the encounter deck, because of course he didn't defeat the Ghoul Priest, so we will put him in, shuffle that up as well. So there's the cultist deck, so we'll shuffle that up as well. We're here with Zero Doom, of course, and the Agenda and Act deck. We'll read those out just to get that going. So Predator or Prey. Lita seems convinced of a conspiracy within the city of Arkham. She believes that a secret cult serves the ghouls that live in the crypts beneath the city, and that several of the cult's prominent members are scattered throughout Arkham. As you begin searching for them, you can't shake the feeling that you too are being hunted. You resign. You don't want to risk taking too long, so you head to safety with the information you've gathered. And uncovering the conspiracy, you have one night to find members of the cult and unveil their plan. Dun, 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 dun. The more members of the cult you can find and interrogate or bash up before midnight, the better. Investigators can spend 2 clues as an action as a group to draw the top card of the cultist deck. Find as many unique cultist enemies as you can and add them to the victory display. If there are 6 unique cultist enemies in the victory display, advance. Note, not all 6 of them are in the cultist deck. So there we go. So I think we're ready to roll. Of course, there's I'm just checking all my cameras are here. So there's that one. Oh, and there's the victory display. There's nothing in there at the moment. There's that view. There's the view of the overall layout, all set out very nicely, so that's great. Okay, so let's draw our opening hand. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, obviously with Rex, it's not about fighting, it's about investigating and getting as many clues as quickly as possible and getting out of Midnight Mask with as many victory points as we possibly can before things get really nasty. That's really the strategy with Rex. So what we want is, we obviously want Malign Christopher in our opening hand, magnifying glass, Hawkeye camera as well. Anything that's going to help us get clues and things is what we need the most. Also, shortcut is also at a premium in this scenario, because zipping around the board is obviously something we want to do a lot of. So that's what we're really looking for in this opening hand. So let's see what we get. So there's a Hawkeye folding camera. Working a hunch is also good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep those 2, but I'm going to chuck in the other 3. And hopefully we can draw into Malign Christopher. And we don't. that's okay. We get lots of other things, but we didn't get Malign Christopher. Hopefully he will turn up at some stage, and hopefully if Mars Boarding House is at Southside, we can get him that way. So there we go. So here we are. We're at the house, to Shroud location, and obviously we can use an action to draw a card and gain a resource here as well, which we'll be taking advantage of. So the first thing I'm going to do, the first action I'm going to do is to spend 2 and bring out the Hawkeye folding camera. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And the next thing I'm going to do is take a resource and draw a card. And we get another flashlight. Well, trying to tell us something. Yes, and then I think for our third action, I could use this here, but I feel like working a hunch is something we should use when we're in a bit of a bind and we really need to use it. This obviously we wouldn't use here, so I think we just go straight up and investigate. So it's a Shroud of 2 and we are a 4, so that's a -2 or better. I'm going to throw in one of these flashlights. So that's going to give us a 5, -3 or better. Chaos Bags is -1. There we go. So we got the clue from the house. Very nice. Which means the Hawkeye folding camera, that was the last clue on the location. So the way the Hawkeye folding camera, after the last clue is discovered from your location, place a resource. So we now have 4 willpower as a consequence. So very nice. Okay, so that's a pretty good start. I would have liked Malign Christopher to be on the table, but it wasn't to be. So what we did was we brought out the Hawkeye folding camera. We took a resource and drew a card and drew into another flashlight, which I just don't feel that we necessarily need. And then we successfully investigated, so we've got our first clue. So all we need to do now is get ourselves to Rivertown and get the second clue and get the first cultist on board in the next turn. Anyway, let's see what happens before then. There are no enemies, obviously, in the enemy or the enema phase, as I like to call it. So let's move into the upkeep phase and flip our little tokens. Doink. Let's take a resource, so back up to 5 resources. Is that right? Yeah, we spent 2, but then we got 1 back. So we spent 2, 5, 4, 3. Yeah, that's right, because we spent 2, and then we got 2 back. Yeah, all good. Just, why are we back up to 5? And then I realised, of course, we drew a resource as one of our actions. So that's the, we draw a card. And the card we get is Perception, which is always a nice thing to get. Yeah. So there we go. Okay, so let's move into the Mythos phase and let's see what the good old Mythos deck has for us. So we'll just move up here. We'll move into turn 2. Doom number 1. I'll just shuffle up the encounter deck again. So let's see what the lovely encounter deck is going to give us, which I'm sure will throw out everything that we're doing. And of course it does, with a good old hunting Night Gaunt right off the bat. Fantastic. Not. Okay, so this guy's going to be following us around. We're not going to fight him. He's just going to follow us around the place. So we're just going to have to deal with that. So it's a pain, but it's, you know, it's not that bad. Okay, so we'll move into the investigation phase. 3 actions. So the first thing we want to do is we want to evade this hunting Night Gaunt. He's only an evasion of 1, but he gets a double negative modifier. We are a 3. I really like to have this hyper awareness on the board because of its evasion, so I don't really want to spend it unless I have to. So let's try and evade him the first time. If that fails, then I think we're going to have to throw it in. So it's a 1 versus a 3, which is a -2 or better. Let's see what we get, and the Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so that is -2. So we succeed. Whew! -2, 3, 2, 1, 1 versus 1. Yes, we succeed. So we evaded just successfully evaded the Hunting Night Gaunt. Where's he gone? So evaded the Hunting Night Gaunt, and then we're going to move up to Rivertown as our second action. Flip that, and that's it's got 1 clue on it. So next action was to do that, and what do I do here? I could spend 2 on working a hunch to get the clue, and then I could bring out the first cultist. But I'm feeling like I want to get this out, so I'm going to spend 2, and I'm going to bring out hyper awareness because I feel like we might need it. I just have this feeling that we are going to need all the help we can get in terms of evasion, and we're not spending a ton at the moment on resources, so even without Malone Christopher. So that's our third action. So next time we will get the clue, we'll get the cultist, and then we will get out of there before the Hunting Night Gaunt gets us. That's the idea. So we will move into the enemy phase. Now the Hunting Night Gaunt can't move, obviously, so we'll move into the Upkeep Phase, and we will flip over these. We will give ourselves a resource, and we will draw ourselves a card. And we get Seeking Answers, which is very nice. Seeking Answers work particularly well from Rivertown because it's only a 1 shroud, so it's a great way of getting clues from Miskatonic University, things like that. Now the Night Gaunt is back with us. So I'll just put him here, so he'd be ready to roll next time. Okay, so that's the end of the Upkeep Phase. So we move into the Mythos Phase. Let's pop back up here. We're in turn 3, Doom number 2. Time to see what the lovely encounter deck has for us, and I bet you any money we get another Hunting Night Gaunt. No, please. And we get an Acolyte instead. Well, okay. All right, so we'll put this Acolyte somewhere out of the way, to be honest. We're just going to have to live with the fact that he's going to have a Doom on him, and that's just moving things forward a bit faster because we don't have time and we're not really prepared to fight something like an Acolyte. We don't even have something like Mind Over Matter, something like that. So we're just going to have to deal with the fact that there are now 3 Doom on the table and just keep moving. Okay, so we'll move into the investigation phase. Now we need to get out of, I'll just go back up here, we need to get out of Rivertown, probably down to Southside, because if we get Mars Boarding House, we can find Malone Christopher. Also depends on what cultist comes out. That might also change our strategy, but it's likely that we'll be moving to Southside, in that way. Okay, so first thing to do is to investigate. So let's get this clue. It's a 1. Yeah, we are, it should be relatively easy. We are a 4. It's a 1. -3 or better. Hello? Chaos Bag gives us a -1. Yep, so we succeed, which means there's another resource on the Hawkeye folding camera, which means we get +1 intellect as well. That's very nice. So, yep, we'll get that clue. So things are going according to plan so far, and indeed what we will do now is we will spend those 2 clues. That's our second action. And we will bring out the first cultist. Here we go. Here are the cultists. I'll just give them another shuffle up. Now, we don't want Wolf Mendrew. Wolf Mendrew will be of so what we would hope for is a Peter Warren or one of those, anyone actually except Wolf Mendrew would be fine. So here we go. Who do we get? Wolf. No, we get Herman Collins. Okay, so all we need to do with old Herman is get 4 cards, discard 4 cards, and he's in the graveyard. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've already got 5 cards. So, so we have a choice here because we're on 4, but I think, so we're going to have to take a willpower test to get into the graveyards. The danger is if that fails, then we will have the Hunting Night Gaunt on us. The other thing is we've got to discard 4 cards, and at the moment we've got 5. So the other thing we could do is we could go to south side, see if we can pick up an ally, or depending if it's the Hysterical Society, then we would get 3 cards. If it's Mars Boarding House, we would get an ally. And even if we don't, either way, I think we need to do that. I just feel like the risk of us trying to get into the graveyard at the moment, we don't have a guts on the in our hand or something like that, is lowish. Like we're sort of, we're taking a risk, and I don't want to end up with Hunting Night Gaunt on us. So I think we probably do that. So let me just check here. We investigated. We got the cultist out. So I think for our final action, we will move down to south side. Hopefully it's Mars Boarding House, and we can... it's not. It's the Hysterical Society. But that's fine, because we can draw 3 cards, which is what we need. If we're going to deal with Herman Collins, we've got to discard 4 cards. So actually that's not too bad. Okay, so that was a reasonably successful round. We got ourselves up to Rivertown. We got our 2 clues. We got Herman Collins out, and we got out of the way. Unfortunately, it wasn't Mars Boarding House, so we won't be getting an ally on the table. However, it does mean that we can draw 3 cards and deal with Herman Collins, so that's something. So we move into the enemy phase, and indeed the Hunting Night Gaunt will move to Rivertown, so he's going to be there. So we've just got to be mindful that we don't want to be in a place where he's going to. So what we might be doing is south side, then we might St Mary's Hospital, pick up another clue and get another cultist down on the table, and then he will either move to one of those, and then we can kind of get around somehow to the graveyard. Oh boy. Okay. It's going to be a bit of a Benny Hill kind of scenario. I can see that. All right, so we move into the upkeep phase. So we will flip the tokens. We will take a resource. We will draw a card. And what do we draw into? We draw into the Research Librarian. Well, there we go. There's an ally, which also can give us a tome asset. So yeah, maybe the Old Book of Law would be helpful. Maybe. I don't know. Or he's just use him as a soak, I suppose. Anyway, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. Let's go up. So we're in turn 4. There are now 3. In fact, there are 4 doom down. So we're rapidly running out of time. That's the other problem. So we need to get moving. And so let's see what the good old encounter deck has for us. And it's another Acolyte. This is really, really... Oh, boy. I'm just going to put the Acolyte on downtown because we won't be fighting Wolfman Drew anytime soon. Oops. That's not what I wanted. So the problem is 3, 4, 5. So this will flip over next time, and the Masked Hunter will be upon us. So that's actually really, really not great. So already it's starting to feel like things are starting to get very difficult very, very fast for poor old Rex. All right, so we're in the investigation phase. Let's just have a look at our situation. Okay. Let's just have a look here. So we are here in Southside. Yeah. So we need to get out of the way. And I think we need to draw these 3 cards because I think we need as many cards as possible. So I think the first thing we do is draw the 3 cards. Give ourselves maximum So we draw 3 cards. Wow. Okay. So we get a manual dexterity, which I'm feeling is good, but I'm also feeling we probably need to keep it because we need to deal with the Masked Hunter next time. So I'm actually, so I'm just thinking what we do now. So we've got lots of perceptions. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 9? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 9. Yeah. And we've also got hyper awareness as well, which can allow us to evade. So we've got a couple of options here. We could either move and evade the Hunting Nightgone, but the problem with that is then we will end up with 2 monsters on us at the same time, which is not ideal at all. So I don't think that's a good idea. The other alternative is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to have to spend 1 card to... So the other alternative is, we've got 2 turns left, is we could get this clue fast. We could then hop over to St. Mary's Hospital as our second action, and then we could use deduction to try and get the other clues. So then we've got lots of clues, and that's actually handy for us to have lots of clues. So I think that's probably what we should do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spend 2, and we are going to use Working a Hunch, Fast Play, Discover a Clue. Okay, so we get that clue. And that's another clue, so we've discovered all the clues, so we get an extra sanity, I think. So that's nice. So that's very nice. Our next action will be to move. So we'll move to St. Mary's Hospital. Oh, it's only 1 clue on here. For some reason I thought it was 2. Okay. We don't need to heal 3 damage. It's only a shroud of 2. So we can get this, we might as well just investigate and get this clue. I don't think we need to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, we will lose one of these cards because, excuse me, because yeah, we'll draw and then. Do you check your hand size after you draw? Yeah, so we're going to lose a card. So we need to spend a card, otherwise we're going to lose a card. I'm probably not going to use burglary, I don't think. No. So I'm going to throw this in for this particular skill test. So this is a shroud of 2. And we are a 4, a 5, a 6. So a 6 versus a 2, -4 or better, success. Okay. So we'll flip that and we'll get another clue. Great. So we've now got 2 more clues. We just can't use them at the moment, which is great. That means we can bring out another cultist. And we are as prepared as we can be to deal with the Masked Hunter when he's going to arrive next time. Oh boy, this is going to be a bit fraught. All right, so we move into the enemy phase, and the hunting night gaunt could either move here or we could move here. Either is equally good. I think. I don't know which. So. I think there's a 50-50 chance, I suppose, that it could be one or the other. But I've already been to Southside, so if the hunting night gaunt's going to hunt me, you would think he would follow the same path. So I'm going to use that as the rather than make it a random roll. I could make it a random roll, I suppose. I don't know that I've got anything to do a random roll with. Don't think so. Okay. So he moves to Southside. And then we move into the upkeep phase. So we will flip over these tokens. We will take a resource and we'll draw a card. And we get the old book of lore. Okay, cool. So we'll move into the Mythos phase. Let's pop up to here. So we're in turn 5. Now this now flips because there are 2 doom on acolytes. So the dooms come off the acolytes. There we go. So indeed. Oh. So here we have the good old. Oops. The good old Masked Hunter. 4/4/2. No, he's not more 4. He's 6. He's a 6. So he spawns. Threat area. So the good old Masked Hunter, he's got a 4 fight. He's 6 health. And while you're engaged with the Masked Hunter, you cannot discover or spend clues. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, and he has 2 evade, which is what we will be availing ourselves of. But things are not over yet because we need to see what the encounter deck has for us. Oh, this just gets better and better. The Wizard of the Order. This is just going to any empty location. This is really, really making things very difficult. So that's not an empty location. And I can't really fight this guy, so where am I going to put him? I'm just going to put him here. So the problem with that is, and he gets a doom, the doom track is going to go down super fast. And this is the problem with this particular deck with Rex, is his capacity to fight and destroy things is really low. He's got mind over matter, and that's about it. I don't even know he's got I've got a plan or something, but it makes it really quite difficult under these circumstances. Anyway, that's the way it is for poor old Rex. So I think we will move into the investigation phase now. We're here. I think the plan is to evade and get to Herman Collins. If possible, I think you can get a victory point for Miskatonic University, so maybe we can try and do a deduction as well. But we've just got to be mindful of. So that would give us a victory point. And if we can get to Herman Collins, and I think the Graveyard gives a victory point, Herman Collins gives a victory point. If we can manage to do all of that, then I think that's probably all we can expect for Rex. That's my focus. Go to Miskatonic University, get the clues, get the victory point, move to Rivertown, move into the Graveyard, get Herman Collins, get the victory points, and resign. If we can manage all of that, then I think we're doing really well. But first things first, let's deal with the Masked Hunter. So obviously going to evade him. He has a 2 We are a 3, so that's a good start. Now we could spend resources, but I think we throw in the old manual dexterity. So that gives us a 5, I think. 5 versus 2. So we could, I don't know if I want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I might spend a resource, and that makes us a 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2, doesn't it? 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 versus 2, minus 4 or better for an evasion. Chaos Bag gives us a +1, so we absolutely evade the hell out of him. He doesn't even find us in the first instance. Where is she in this hospital? Oh, this place is so complicated! There we go. So we evade the Masked Hunter, and we draw a card as a consequence, and we get Barricade, which actually I think I might be using. Now, it won't work on the Masked Hunter, but it will work on the Night Gaunt. So we can put this in, at least in Rivertown or something, and stop the Night Gaunt getting to us. So that was our first action. Wish we had a shortcut. Oh, that would be good, wouldn't it? Our second action, we obviously don't want to move into Southside, so we'll move up to Miskatonic University. And indeed, there's a victory point to be had here. Search top 6 cards of your deck for a tome or a spell card and add it to your hand. Well, we're not going to do that, but it's a 4 Shroud. So I think we go ahead and we investigate the hell out of this place. So indeed, we are a 5. We are a 5 with the Hawkeye folding camera, and it was a Shroud of 4. So I think we put in a Perception. So that gives us a 7 versus a 4, an 8. So that's given us an 8 versus a 4, and then that means we will draw a card and we will get an additional clue at the location. So 8 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed, which means we get both of the clues. Yay! We get both. First of all, we get both of the clues. I'm just going to copy this and put it in the victory display. There we go, there's our first victory display. I need these. This can be deleted. So there we go, we've got the Miskatonic University. Grab the clues. There we go, I've got lots of clues anyway. So, yep, because we use the deduction, so we got an additional clue and we draw a card as well, and we get a knife. Okay, so that was it. Well, that all worked out pretty well. So we evaded the Masked Hunter. We then moved up to Miskatonic University, and then we investigated the hell out of Miskatonic University, and we got the 2 clues. So we got plenty of clues. So our strategy now is we've got a victory point as well, and the crowd goes wild. So our main thing now is to get ourselves over to the graveyard from here. And I've just realized, of course, that the Hunting Night Gaunt can move in and get us. But that was going to happen anyway. So, we'll just need to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt and then get ourselves into Rivertown, maybe stick the barrier down, or maybe not, and then get ourselves into the graveyard and maybe do the barrier, but something like that anyway. So yeah. All right, so that's that turn. So we move into the into the enemy phase, and indeed the Hunting Night Gaunt monsters us, moves into Miskatonic University and does 1 damage and 1 horror. Okay. Yeah. And we move into the Upkeep Phase. So we will flip these. We will take a resource and we will draw a card. And we get a shortcut. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's good. We need a shortcut because we just need a shortcut. Okay, so very nice. So we move into the Mythos Phase. Now, there's turn 6, 1 Doom. Now, we mustn't forget that now there'll be an extra Doom at the end of the Mythos Phase as well. But before we get to that, let's see what the encounter deck has for us. Wings of Darkness. Yes, but it's test 4. If you fail, take 1 damage and then disengage from each non-Night Gaunt enemy and move to a central location. I mean, even if we're not disengaged, that's kind of helpful. That is kind of helpful, actually, because we'll take a damage and a horror, but it will get us to Rivertown. So it's probably worth taking the damage, I think. Oh, I just realized. The Mouse Hunter is. So I'm actually thinking it's worth the free move. So I'm just going to look to fail this. Let's see what we get. We get a -1, so we fail it. Which means we take a damage and a horror. Yep. And we don't disengage. Yes, we move, but we keep the Hunting Night Gaunt with us. So we move here. We move to Rivertown. Very nice. Okay, so there we go. We got a free move out of it, but we didn't get rid of the Hunting Night Gaunt. But there you go. All right, so let's move into the investigation phase. We've got 3 actions. So the main thing to do is to evade this Hunting Night Gaunt, get ourselves into the graveyard as effectively as we can. So that's what we need to do. Okay, so he's a 1 and we are a 3. We don't have... I could spend this seeking answers. I'm just thinking that we've got to get rid of 4 cards. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the question is, do we spend resources or do we throw in the odd card? Because which cards do we absolutely need to keep? We probably want to keep Perception. And we definitely want to keep Shortcut. I don't know. We probably want to keep that. But probably these other cards we can probably dispense with. Because the thing about the resources, we can use them to find clues in the graveyard as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 cards. So yeah, I think we can probably get rid of some. With the barrier might be helpful actually. So probably want to keep that. So what I might do is I might throw in the Research Librarian. So that gives us a 4 versus a 1. Which basically means, but if he gets a -3, that's a 7. So 4. -2 would be a 5. So I think, yeah, I think we inoculate ourselves there. So we've now gone 3, 4, 5, 5 versus 1. 5 versus 1. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. Okay. I think we over-egged it a bit there, but you have to with these Hunting Night Gaunts because, you know, of their negative modifiers. Because that was a -2 for him, which gives him 3. So yeah. Okay. So we successfully evade. That was our first action. I'm going to shortcut into the graveyard. So we will shortcut into the graveyard, but forced. After you enter the graveyard, test 3. If you fail, you must either take 2 horror or move to Rivertown. So we're testing 3. We are 4 with the Hawkeye camera, so we're a 4 versus a 3. I'm going to put in the old book of lore. So that gives us a 5 versus a 3, which is a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. Whoa, let me just check I did that right. 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 versus 3. So we succeed. We succeed. So we are now in the graveyard, which means Herman Collins is on us. We've got 1 action left, so we are going to choose and discard 4 cards from your hand. 1, 2, 3. Do we need the barrier? Because probably what we're going to do is we're going to investigate the hell out of the graveyard. It's only got a 1 shroud. We're going to get these clues, and then that's it. I think we're going to look to resign. I don't really see the possibility of us getting much further. And in fact, there should be another doom on this. Sorry, I just realized there's no 2 doom on here. Not 1. So we're already up to 2 dooms. So next time there will be 3, 4 doom. Like yeah, we're going to have almost no time. So I think we can get rid of the barrier as well. There we go. There's our 4 cards. That was right, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll keep perception. And there we go. Herman Collins is the next victory point. And he's in the victory display. There we go. Okay. So that was reasonably successful because we, thanks to the encounter deck, we ended up in Rivertown, even though we took some damage. We then successfully evaded the Night Gaunt. We then used a shortcut to get into the graveyard and successfully passed the willpower test. We then, just trying to think, so we evaded the Night Gaunt. That was our first action. Yeah. Then we shortcutted. We shortcutted to the graveyard. So our second action was to, yeah, we did shortcut. So we do have an extra action. I'm miscounting my actions because, yeah. So we shortcutted. So we evaded was our first action. We then used the shortcut to move into the graveyard, which means that wasn't an action. Then we took Herman Collins out, which was our second action. So we've still got an action left, if I'm not much mistaken. So I've miscounted there. Yeah. So we've still got another action to go. So for our final action, we'll investigate here. So it's a shroud of 1, and we are a 5. Let's make it a 7. 7 versus 1. Yeah, we succeed. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 versus 1. We succeed. Do we succeed by? Hold on. But do we succeed by 2 or more? So it was a -4. So it was. We were a 4, 5, 7. -4 is 3. Versus 1 is by 2 or more, so we get both clues. Yeah. Fantastic. Is that right? So we were a 4, 5, 7. We were a 7. It's a 1. We got a -4. So 7 minus 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Leaves us with 3. Versus 1 is 2 or more. So we get both, which means we get another victory. That's another victory in the victory display, and we get the 2 clues. Fantastic. Lots of clues. Not enough time. Okay, so sorry about that. miscounted because I think the shortcut, I just assumed that was a movement, and of course it's not. It was a fast play. So we evaded, shortcutted, parleyed, and then investigated. So those were our 3 actions. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase, and Mars Hunter moves to, say, south side. And then we move into the upkeep phase. So we flip these. We get a resource and we draw a card. And we get a emergency cash. Okay. Yes, indeed, the... whoops. This is where something like an elusive would be handy if we're going to keep playing. So that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos Phase. So back up to here. We're in turn 7. There is now 2 doom on here, but there are 3 doom on here. So we are now up to 3, 5. Is that right? We're up to 5. And next time it's going to be 3, 7. So we've got 1 turn. Yeah, we've got hardly any time left. So that's the end of the Mythos Phase. Well, no, we just got to click for encounter. Oh, we get a crypt chill. Okay. Test 4, and we are a 4 with the Hawkeye folding camera. So it's a 4 versus a 4. We've got nothing else. So and we get a -1. So we lose an asset. So that's an asset. So let's get rid of hyper awareness. And there we go. So we're moving into the investigation phase. 3 actions. So let's just have a look at our situation. Literally, so we've got the Hunting Night Gaunt here. The Masked Hunter is on his way. We've literally got 1 turn, maybe 2 turns. I suppose we could, say we got Peter Warren. I'm just trying to think about this. Say we got Peter Warren. You require 2 clues. So our first action would be that. Our second action, we would then move to Rivertown. I don't know. Like, yeah, there's just not enough turns to get ourselves over to. I was trying to think whether we could do it, or whether it's worth trying. Probably what we would try and do is we'd move to Rivertown. We would look to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt, and then move to Miskatonic University. That's probably what we would do, because I think we have another turn after that, because there'll be 4 doom. But hold on, then the Masked Hunter's going to get us, isn't he? Yes, he will move up, and he will give us some grief. Yeah, he'll really give us some grief. So, and we've lost hyper awareness, so we can't use that to evade. So it puts us at risk of dying. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, whilst it's possible, why don't we just draw why don't we do that anyway? So our first action, we're gonna spend 2 clues and see who we get. And we get Wolfman Drew. No way. So we would have got Wolfman Drew anyway. So there's no way we're going after Wolfman Drew. So that's the first thing. That was the first action. Let's do it again. We've got the clues here. Actually, I've just realized I shouldn't be doing this. just realised if we resign in the graveyard, we will lose the victory. So I'm actually being really flippant, and I shouldn't be. So I'm going to start that again, because we need to be out of the graveyard if we're going to resign, because otherwise we will drop all our clues in the graveyard and we won't get the victory point. So my first action will be to move back to Rivertown. I'm going to try and evade. Oh no, we can just resign from here. So I've moved to here, to Rivertown, and then I'm going to resign. So we drop all our clues in Rivertown rather than in the graveyard, and we've resigned. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. So that was a little fast and furious, because we just got swamped by acolytes and Wizard of the Orders. So I think we did pretty well in terms of where we got to. We managed to get one cultist only, unfortunately, but we managed to get away with 3 victory points in the end. But we just, like, with all that doom, we were just running out of time, and our capacity to kill the cultists was 0. So we really had no choice but to just move as quickly as we could. So anyway, Herman Collins is in the victory display. We managed to do that. Rex managed to survive Midnight Masks. So I think all in all, he did reasonably okay. And we did all of that in 7 turns, so it was blisteringly fast. So I think he did pretty well. His starter deck, Fantasy Flight game starter deck, is really not great, and so it was really hard to optimize it for this particular scenario. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And next time it will be Jenny's turn to step up to the plate, and she will be bringing along her twin shooters, and we'll see how she goes in the Midnight Masks. Jenny Barnes is always a crowd favourite, and I'm sure she'll do very well. I'm sure she'll do better than old Rex Murphy did anyway. So, as I said, thank you very much for watching. I'm Krabby Terror 8, and I will see you next time, and goodbye.